Hello. This is Gray Hughes Investigates. What's going on, everybody? Hello, Crystal, aka Beaver Gaming Sub Crystal. Wishing Beach Lifestyle, Sarita, Ashleyla Smith, Cairo, Lace, Dottie-O, Ohio Italian Girl, Bush and Beach Lifestyle, TTNZ, Sarah, Alligator, AD, Theory Fairy. Alright. Yeah, I was just kind of randomly looking up cold cases. It's fun for me because I look up a cold case, and then sometimes when you look up the cold case, there's other cases that are mentioned, and then you follow those around, and you know, branches off, and some have conclusions, some don't. But they're all interesting. So maybe I'll just go through the same trip that I went on with you guys. Oh, by the way, first of all, I want to say that, you know, having experienced, I went to a chat last night. It was one of the drama ones. I was hanging out in there just saying what I was thinking about, you know, different Leone stuff. And that, my God, I mean, my moderators are the best. I mean, they're absolute idiots over there. It was amazing. It was like, you know, one of the moderators sat there and just kept attacking me over and over and over again. And then I said, "Wow, you seem like you're really into the power that you have." And then, boom, I'm timed out. And then they're, you know, the channel owner said, "Yeah, you can't attack our mods." So I said, "So your mods can attack every single person in the chat, but you'll just boot out the person for defending themselves?" Jesus. Anyways, thank you guys for being way better. Just an absolute joke in there. Yeah. It's hilarious. And then they say, "Oh, there's Gray trolling again." It's like, really? I was just commenting how I want to, you know? You turn it into that, sure. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, leave me alone. Wait, I need the sound effect for that, right?
Leave me alone.
No, Gray, take the punishment.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's what they say over there, though. It's amazing. Anyways, I just wanted to say that I was over there thinking, wow, my moderators are 1,000 times better. They should be ashamed. If I had a moderator half like any of them, I mean, I know sometimes we hit the trigger a little early or whatever, but I had never seen any of you guys do that. I mean, it was weird. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I got my second mini Mavic today, by the way, so now I have two of them. You know, I have an old cell phone, too. I wonder if I turn on the device and just make it a satellite-type device. If I could fly 3 drones up in the air at the same time. Have them kind of look at each other. Yeah. Well, I don't really get to fly that much. I don't know if I'm addicted yet, but I like to have... be ready to go. Nah, Blue's fine. That's what he does. Is it really? I guess if you had 3 people, you could do it, right? Because I guess you have to have line of sight and be paying attention to your drone. Right, one flies off and then you're running over there doing something else. Hey, thanks, Kit Kat.
Boom. Smiling face with smiling eyes.
Yep, well, this is the last day of the month, and then tomorrow, based on the channel donations, I guess, is how much we're going to be doing the tomorrow is our donation. And I'm going to be adding another 100 to it because Laura said that she's sending me the 100 either tomorrow or the next day. Okay, so I'll be adding that to it beforehand. So hopefully we'll be able to do like 300 and something to and that's a pretty good amount of money for like the DNA Dough project again. Yeah, you know what I was thinking is like maybe each year just pick one and hit them the whole time and really help them out, you know. Okay, so let's go over these cold cases here. It is, there's two of them, but then there's a couple cases that were solved that are sort of in there too, but they're interesting. Eve Wilkowitz, and let's see, the other one was, I think I buried it underneath another folder. Hold on. Oh yeah, Janice Pulliam from New Mexico. Just kind of random. They're pretty random, but man, they're just wild what goes on out there. So we're going to start with the Eve Wilkowitz from New York. Hence the name Wilkowitz. I'm just kidding. Yeah, here we go. So there was a body that was found, and it says a 20-year-old Bay Shore woman whose body was found Tuesday morning had been bound by rope at the wrists and strangled, police said yesterday. The woman, Eve Wilkowitz, of 150 Fifth Avenue of the town Bay Shore, so 150 Fifth Avenue, had been reported missing late Saturday, nearly 24 hours after friends reported that she boarded a train in Penn Station for the ride to her home. Hey, thanks, Barbara Smith. I gotta go check in on that guy. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. You know, the guy that does the news that you're a mod for. I haven't seen his show in a while. Is he still busting out show after show? Yeah, Lookner, right. But the show's called, wasn't it Right Side? No, not Right. That was what it was before. No Agenda. Agenda Free TV, right. You know, when I first watched him was when, let's see, it was during the Las Vegas shooting when that guy shot all those people from the building. That's when I first started watching him. But I think he was working for the other company at the time. Anyways, let's get back to this. The woman, Eve Wilkowitz of 150 Fifth Avenue, had been reported missing late Saturday, nearly 24 hours after friends reported that she boarded a train in Penn Station for the ride to her home. Wilkowitz, who worked for a Manhattan publisher, had taken the 12:39 a.m. train but never arrived home. You know, she was with a boyfriend and they had fallen in love. They were dating for, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. And I read this whole article by that person. It was pretty sad. I'll put the link in later. But that person wrote like a novel about it. Her body was found 8 a.m. Tuesday. So check this out. So her body was found 8 a.m. Tuesday. She was reported missing Saturday. And it was found in front of a home at 26 Center Street. Well, what's weird is when you look this up, this is 26 Center Street right here. And her body was found right there. I mean, if they have this information correct. Yeah, see, that's Center Avenue. Let's try that again. 26 Center Street, Bay Shore, New York. Yeah, it's right there, see? And then 150. Well, that says Clinton Avenue. Is that what it said? Maybe I got the wrong one there. Hold on. Let me just make sure about this. No, 150 Fifth Avenue. Okay, let's try that again. 150 Fifth Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Okay. Yeah, it's right there. So, I mean, it is right there. So I don't know if this is Fifth Avenue also, or how they do it. But anyways, she lived right here. This is where she was going to be going. So what are the odds that she's murdered and then found right there, that close to where she actually lives? I mean, look how that could be. You could be anywhere. And then somehow her body's found right here laying out on the grass. Doesn't that seem strange? Because she'd never made it home. Maybe I'll wait for Billy Boy Blue. I just want to. I don't know how long it takes, but I want to hear the. He needed the money. Oh.
Lil Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, sat down beside her. He said, "Hey, what's in the bowl, Beach?"
I don't know why that's funny every time, but I think part of the humor is the way Streamlabs reads the damn thing. Okay? Right, her body was found at 8 a.m. Tuesday in front of a home at 26 Center Street, Bay Shore. Police noted that rope burns on her wrists indicated that she had been held captive. See, that's the part that's weird, is that she's so close to her home, but yet she was held captive for 2 or 3 days. An autopsy disclosed that she had been strangled hours before her body was discovered. So she was found on, what was that, Tuesday morning? So she was killed maybe early morning on Tuesday, but she was reported missing on Saturday. That's kind of freaky right there. The body was clad in blue jeans and a blouse, but no socks or shoes were found. Police are asking anyone for information. So these numbers are probably invalid at this point. Okay, that was March 27th, 1980. This is March 28th, 1980. Suffolk homicide detectives yesterday questioned members of a Long Island railroad train crew as they tried to piece together the last hours of Eve Wilkowitz, found strangled Tuesday morning in Bay Shore. We are trying to find out if anyone noticed someone following her or if the crew remembers anything that may help us, said homicide detective. Meanwhile, the Suffolk medical examiner is continuing tests to find out if the 20-year-old girl was sexually molested. We have established that strangulation was the cause of death and that she died only a few hours before the body was found, said Dr. Sidney Weinberg. We are still conducting tests to determine if she was sexually abused. She was reported missing on Saturday evening by Robert Grogan, 21, of Fifth Avenue, and that is who her roommate is that lives with her in this house right there. Wouldn't that be weird if it came back to him? Let's see. Fifth Avenue, with whom she had been living with since leaving her father's Oakdale home. According to Captain Al Holdorf of Homicide, Eve had dinner with a male companion, a fellow worker at Macmillan Publishing, in the city on Friday. So in the city, I think in Manhattan, she had dinner with her boyfriend, is who it actually is. And that person saw her board the 12:39 train to Bay Shore. Rope marks on her wrists, on the wrists of the dead girl, indicate she may have been held captive by her killer, who apparently abducted her during the 10-minute walk from the Bay Shore station to her home. Well, I wonder if they actually have proof that she made it onto the train. Okay, now here's this other story that popped up. So there was nothing was found out in that case, all the way up until December 1980, December 3rd, 1980. There was another article, but I couldn't find any other articles in between. So you're talking about 9 months later. So here's a story that seems they're trying to link cases maybe. A 22-year-old Long Island woman who was planning to be married, and by the way, she's mentioned down here, another Manhattan secretary, Eve Wilkowitz, 20. So they're mentioning two other women and her, and that's why this article popped up. A 22-year-old Long Island woman who was planning to be married in 2 weeks to a New York City firefighter was found stabbed to death in the parking lot of the Long Island Railroad Station at Copiague last night. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. It was the third slaying of a young woman in the area this year. The body of the woman, Deborah Betts of 22 William Street, Street, Copiague, sister of Suffolk County Police Officer Jack Betts, was found at 10:15 p.m. at the eastern end of the parking lot. Deborah Betts, a Manhattan secretary who lived with her parents a few blocks from the railroad station, was believed to have gotten off the train at 5 or 6 p.m. Her 1971 gold Dodge Charger, which had been parked in the lot, was missing, police said. Captain Al Holford of the County Homicide Squad said the woman died of multiple stab wounds in the upper body. He added that there were cuts on her hands indicating she had tried to fight off her killer. All right, so in this article it mentions Deborah Betts. So now we'll go to, let's see, and that was November 30th. Yeah, and so almost immediately in that case, 2 days after that article was written, they arrested somebody. I mean, it's really crazy. I'll read the first part here, but it says, Long Island slay suspect bragged of his crime and exploits. Murder suspect Michael Freeman, 15, stole thousands of dollars from a neighbor's home, set a $40,000 fire in another home, and bragged of his exploits, but when caught, he was set free on probation. This morning, the adult world finally took notice of Freeman, and he was arraigned in the First District Court in Hauppauge in the murder of 22-year-old bride-to-be Deborah Betts. I know the kid. He's no good, said a neighbor. So Freeman lived in a rundown ranch house at 105 Kubota Street. So I think I have all this. Let's just make sure. 105. Yeah, so right there. They say avenue, but there isn't a street, so. And this is really pretty crazy how this worked. So in this case here, Deborah Betts parked her vehicle in this parking lot, apparently. So she took the train, and then when she arrived back here, she got in her car and she was going to drive home. And this person, the barbarian, Michael Freeman, he's just a kid too. I mean, it's really bizarre. Let me go through. There was an article that explained exactly what he did. As a matter of fact, I think it's this one right here. So basically, he admitted to doing it, and he got set to 9 years to life. Jeez, just 9, huh? That's you could actually possibly get out. If you guys want, why don't you look up that guy and see if he's still in prison? Michael Freeman, Kremen. Now here's the thing: this kid, he's 5'4" and barely 100 pounds. Okay, he was a really tiny kid. Well, it says teen gets 9 years to life in sex slang, but here's the actual description of what he did right here. Well, let's see if there's some more information here. Yeah, Freeman was called a little terrorist by Hauppauge residents after a crime spree. Betts had returned to the island early on December 3rd from her Manhattan job because she wanted to change before going to Nassau County to order wedding invitations. So this lady here is supposed to be getting married, Miss Betts. Her fiancé, Robert Whitcomb, 26, a Uniondale landscaper, had spoken to her earlier in the day and was to meet her at the printing shop. I mean, what a nightmare. When the young woman approached her parked car, Freeman came up from behind, seized her, and pushed her into the automobile. He then forced her to drive to Marconi and Kubota Streets, which is crazy because this is where she got off, and then that's just right here, right in that location. Just a block and a half from his home at 105 Kubota Street, he then stabbed and robbed her of a few dollars. So right there, he stabbed and robbed her of a few dollars. Hey! Thank you, Judy Shank. I appreciate it. Hold on a second. Hey, thanks, Robin Frost. Yeah, Judy Shank, I've been communicating with her about it, the Goodman case. So we'll have to be doing an update on that one pretty soon.
Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to get her curds and whey. When she got there, the cupboard was bare, so her poor dog complained to law enforcement, who did nothing.
Hey, all right, Robin Frost, you took away, you took one from Billy Boy Blue. I mean, don't you think this is pretty crazy? I mean, listen to this. The following day, the youth returned to the car. So, look at this. She gets out of her vehicle. He forces her into it. It's very similar to that Anaya Blanchard, really. Just a block and a half from his home at 105 Kubota Street, he then stabbed and robbed her of a few dollars. The following day, the youth returned to the car with his brother, Richard, 13, and took $40 from the victim's wallet. Freeman had cut his thumb in the attack and had gone to Brunswick Hospital, where the victim's mother was employed as a nurse. Police spotted Freeman while canvassing the neighborhood and brought him for questioning. He admitted the attack, and his mother's presence gave a 5-page written confession. So she admitted to do it.
Billy Boy Blue, come blow your horn.
That's wild. Okay, now in that same article that we were reading a minute ago that mentioned Miss Betts, there was another one in this article. It said right here, and the other case is Paula Morris, right there. It was the second recent killing of a young woman near the Copiague Railroad Station on October 30th. 17-year-old Copiague High School honor student Paula Morris of 31 Eastgate Road, which is 2 blocks from the station, was shot to death in front of her home. That case is still unsolved at that time. All right, and here's this one. See, it's just interesting. I was trying to, I try to make sure that they're not part of a serial event. So you look at them and then you actually get an answer. Boyfriend held in 80 shooting. But here's the thing is, look at the cops before that. So this is actually 11/2, so November 2nd, 1980 is this article right here. Cops think stray bullet may have killed Long Island girl. Really? That's what you came up with, like, right away? And because you just couldn't find anybody right away? Is that why you did that? Suffolk County homicide detectives, having interviewed hundreds of persons in Copiague, Long Island, theorized yesterday that a 17-year-old honor student was gunned down in front of her home. May have been hit by a stray rifle bullet. The bullet was fired anywhere from a mile away to an inch away. Wow, really? I'm glad you guys narrowed it down so significantly there. The bullet was fired anywhere from a mile away to an inch away, said Detective William Schwalbach. Is that really as accurate as you could have been back then? The girl, Paula Morris of 31 Eastgate Road, was shot once as she was leaving her home at 2:55 p.m. Thursday. She died about 2 hours later in Brunswick Hospital in a nearby Amityville. Detectives questioned neighbors in the quiet South Shore community and really didn't find any answers. So, of course, then, it's just some random stray bullet. So there was no... It was cold as hell until 1988, so 8 years later. Murder. They say boyfriend held in 80 shooting. 2 detectives freshly assigned to take a new look at a nearly 8-year-old Long Island murder arrested the teenage victim's boyfriend in the long unsolved slaying, police said yesterday. There is no statute of limitations on murder, said John McElhone. The victim, 17-year-old Paula Morris, was shot in the chest by a .22 caliber bullet in mid-afternoon on October 30th, 1980, outside her home on Eastgate Road, Copiague. A neighbor saw her stagger and fall in the street, but police found no one who heard the shot or saw the shooter. For almost 8 years, the murder mystery remained unsolved. Then Suffolk County detectives respond. The case conducted a new investigation and charged John Garibaldi, 29, of Glen Lane, Copiac, who had never been a suspect with second-degree murder. Garibaldi was arraigned in First District Court in Hauppauge, where he was ordered held without bail and remanded to Suffolk County Jail in Riverhead. And I think this is the... That was June 12, 1988. So Mr. Garibaldi, a former boyfriend of the victim, was questioned at the time of the original investigation, but was not charged. On Friday, 2 detectives reviewing the case decided to re-interview Mr. Garibaldi, who now lives at 15 Glen Lane in Copiac. They became suspicious when he provided unusually precise details of the crime, and that is exactly why, everybody, that they don't release all the information, so that when they do hear from somebody that has detail that's never been released, there you go. During the interview, he gave indications of knowledge of the murder, and then he confessed, said Officer Linda, I'm going to try to pronounce that, a police spokeswoman. Things that he said would not have been known by anyone except someone who had been there. And there you go. So, those are the 2 side cases that were mentioned in that article. One was solved 2 days after the article, and the other one 8 years. Yeah. That's my Facebook account. Let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, so now I'm going to go back up a layer and get back to Eve Wilkowitz. That was what we originally were talking about. So Eve was having dinner with one of her coworkers, her boyfriend. They had been dating for 6 weeks. They had both told each other they loved each other. They were just going to be starting off, maybe hopefully a long relationship with each other. Who knows? And then apparently she took the train home, and I guess she would have got off about right here. This is the closest, it's the Bay Shore Railroad Station, but it's part of the Long Island Railroad Station. And that looks like maybe that'd be about a 10-minute walk, doesn't it? So she gets off here, and on that walk, she, something happens to her, and then she ends up being found right here. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, she's found right there, but she lives here. But she was kidnapped or held for 3 days. So that's the part that's weird, is that means that whoever it is either knew where she lived and wanted to put her back close to where she lived, or they live around in this area. I mean, the odds of dropping her off just a block and a half from where she lived that's just crazy to me. All right, so here's the article written by the guy that she was actually dating. You guys can check that out if you want. I put it in the chat there. It's pretty crazy. And this is her right here. That's what she looks like. Eve Wilkowitz. All right, so this is a 2016 photo. 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 This is a 2016 article that somebody wrote was actually newsday.com, and it's looks like by Darren Simon. So here we go.
I just figured any day now, you know, we'll hear closure, and you know, any days now, 36 years later, and still, my dad never saw closure, and you know, he died in 2010, so he.
That's the sister.
Never got answers. That's one of the things that makes me most sad, you know. So all I know is she was out with her friend in the city. She was working at Macmillan Publishing in Manhattan, and she was having dinner with her friend, and she was going to go on the train to come home, and never made it home. I don't know if my dad heard it, but I know I did. And I don't think I'm making it up. All these years, I still kind of remember her saying, I think someone's been following me. I think that was one of the last times I
See, that's the part right there. Once I saw that, I go, well, maybe that explains why it was so close. Somebody's been following her. So maybe it's somebody that lives near there and started following her and sort of knew if she took a train, she would be coming back on the train, and they would just stalk out there, sit there and wait. And this is a time where she came back, and that person attacked her. They knew her habits and where she would be going.
Saw her is that last conversation saying that I think
Well,
someone's
she didn't
been
seem to know who
following
that
me.
was.
And my kids, I worry every little time they go out the door. My last words to them all the time is, be careful, you know, I love you. I make sure I tell them every time after I see, you know, when I see them, you know, be careful, to be safe, you know, it's, you just never know. You know, how could he have lived with himself all these years and not have turned himself in, or whatever he's doing? How could he, you know, another human being do that to another human being? It's just beyond in, or whatever, not have turned himself in, or whatever he's doing. How could he, you know, another human being do that to another human being? It's just beyond my, you know, how people could think. Don't hold it in anymore. What are you waiting for? You know, this is the time. You know, life is too short, too precious to, you know, let's help my family find answers. It's just crazy already.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Top Cop. Let's see.
But you know what? If you are headed out there, it's going to be cold here.
Wilkowitz, 20, was abducted while walking home from a Long Island railroad station, held captive and sexually abused, then strangled with rope, authorities said. Wow. I keep my fingers crossed, my mind open, and hope. There were no other siblings. Her mother died of cancer before the slaying. Her father died in 2010 at the age of 90. Days after the shocking 1980 slaying, a veteran homicide detective labeled the case one of the biggest mystery murders we've ever had. On Friday, Suffolk Police Commissioner Tim Sinney said the case remains an open investigation and any information could always move the case forward. This is 2016. See, again, you notice how they're talking about it in 2016. Again, that's the date. Parabon Nanolabs, you know. There was a DNA advancement in 2016. Right, so now let's go to the 2019. There's an article. Her sister was murdered in 1980. New DNA methods could crack the case. But unfortunately, as I've heard in another case, New York won't do it. They just won't allow, even though they have the ability to, they won't allow another agency to do it. They have to do it. And they're just being really childish. That's really lame what they're doing. The police came to the door 2 days after Irene Wilkowitz's sister went missing. Her father answered. Wilkowitz was 17 at the time, and too frightened to hear what the officers might say, began climbing the stairs to her room, but the officer stopped her. "You have to stay and hear this," he said. "We found her," he told them. A splash of relief struck Wilkowitz. Then the officer clarified, "We found her body." Hours earlier, on March 25th, 1980, a woman had noticed a barefoot figure lying on a neighbor's lawn a few miles away in Bayshore. It was Eve Wilkowitz. She'd last been seen boarding a late-night Long Island Railroad train from Penn Station in Manhattan, where she worked as a secretary at a publishing house. Sometime during the journey home, she'd been kidnapped, bound, raped, and dumped. She was 20 years old. Let's see. Wilkowitz remembers watching numb as her father wept and driving him to the morgue to identify Eve's body. They returned to a crush of news cameras. Then they grieved and waited for police to catch the killer. Well, that never happened. I was scared out of my mind. Yeah, this is 1980. I was scared out of my mind. So almost 40 years ago. I kept thinking and I kept saying, well, if it happened to her, I could be next. That fear didn't fade. Today, they are no closer to Eve's killer than they were the morning she was found. Wilkowitz, 57, and Eve's only living close relative, has pressed investigators to try a new option. Investigative genetic genealogy. Do it! A revolutionary and divisive tool that has been used. And see, why don't they just release the DNA and let somebody else other than New York do it? But see, they don't want to. See, I can't stand shit like this. It just, it's like somebody thinks they're really cool and they got to protect all of it or something. I mean, what's the reason? There isn't one. It would enable police to submit the killer's DNA found in semen left on her sister's body. They literally have the guy's semen to consumer DNA databases, which contain DNA profiles of tens of thousands of people who are not in criminal databases. The move could increase the chances of finding a relative of the killer and ultimately the killer himself. But New York health officials, like who are you, won't let investigators do so because public crime laboratories aren't equipped to do the advanced DNA analysis required of the newly popular technique. Law enforcement authorities must seek help from private laboratories, which are regulated by the New York State Department of Health. Under a decades-old regulation from a time when DNA analysis first became common in criminal cases, private labs are required to obtain permits before they can do such forensic work in New York. No private lab has this permit for investigative genetic genealogy. Well, issue the permits then. That has left New York authorities unable to join the national rush. Well, how about the governor step in then and say something? Get it done. It's just, God, it pisses me off. It's definitely frustrating, said Suffolk County Police Lieutenant Kevin Bayer, a homicide investigator who keeps the Eve Wilkowitz murder file. 3 bankers' boxes stuffed with yellow typewritten reports, photographs, and newspaper clippings in his office. The technology's there. Other states have used it. Other states have been successful in it. This is a case that's almost screaming for it. Yes, it is. So far, just one company that does genetic genealogy work has applied for a New York State permit. Virginia-based Parabon Nanolabs. The New York State Health Department will not say when or whether it will grant Parabon the permit. Well, how about you speed it up a little bit, you jackasses? You just look so stupid. There's no good reason not to do it. Well, Gray, that's because you don't know. There's so many people that just... I don't really care. New York appears to be the only state to restrict the use of investigative genetic genealogy. Did you hear that, New York? You're the only state. The regulation is just the latest... the regulation is just the latest example of the way investigative genetic genealogy's breakneck growth has unfolded without a consistent set of rules about how it can be used and without privacy protections to prevent misuse of genetic information. Okay.
I've moved a lot, but Nashville is really cool.
I don't want to watch the ad. Irene Wilkowitz said that she'd long assumed that her sister's killing would never be solved and the murder was still out there. She has appealed to state authorities, Haribon and Blair, to try investigative genetic genealogy in the case. They're all sympathetic, but have said she needs to wait. It's giving me hope. All right. Yeah. That's a really long article, but they, wow, it just keeps on going down here. I don't really want to read this whole thing, but I'll put the link in the chat as well. There you go. Thank you, Cairo.
Love the cold cases. We need an emoji called Grey Hugh's face with invitigating eyes.
Yeah. Pretty good, Shirley. How about you? How are you doing? Yep, had a good one. Yeah, man, what a joke. You know what? You know why they're probably not doing it? Because New York would probably spend $10 billion paying the fees for all the cases that it would solve. Do you know how many cases they probably have rape kits from, murders, that they could just put out there and bang, 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 and get them all solved? But they probably would think, well, what difference does it make now? You know, who cares? I mean, who's the idiot out there that's holding this stuff up? Probably, you know what? You might want to look into the background of the person holding it up. Maybe there's a reason that they're holding it up, right? I mean, what other reason would they have? It seems like you're kind of nervous somebody might lead to you. It's ridiculous. And I've seen an interview with that health guy. He's a little dodgy the way he was just, yeah, well, we're going to have to wait. You know, it was really lame. All right, I'll be back in just a second. Yeah, that felt good. Okay, good. Okay, I will, Lanky Tor. Oh, wait, I already did Lanky Tor. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just a toilet flush, but for some reason it's funny.
I don't think it's funny at all, Gray. We're talking about serious things.
Yeah, I know. I was done talking about that serious thing, and in the middle, I'm joking around right now. Because in a minute, we'll be moving on to a different one. A different case. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. You know, I'm looking up one cold case, and it mentioned two that might be associated, but then both of those were solved. Both of those turned out to be interesting as well. And then we go back to the story about Eve, and then it, you know, it's just her case is still not solved after 40 years when they could easily do it quickly. I mean, when you have a semen sample stored, you don't have to be nervous about getting a good sample. You've got it. So right now, the guy who killed her is shitting bricks, except now he's laughing, going, ah, ha, 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 ha. Right? Because you're taking so long to even get it going. I mean, this guy is probably, shit, he's probably, well, how old would he could be 70 years old at this point. 80 even. He might even be dead. He might have been in prison for something else. We just don't know. Billy Boy Blue. He needed the money. Oh!
Gray, seriously. We're talking about serious things. Boo hoo hoo.
That's right. Thanks, Billy Boy Blue and Stephanie Kelly. I never got a message from you on Facebook.
YEEWWHEWWWL101 love it.
Yeah, but doesn't it seem weird to you guys, though, that the killer would drop her body off right here, and she lived here, but she was held captive for 2 or 3 days? So let's try to picture that, how that would work. So she gets kidnapped here on her walk home, perhaps, maybe even in this area. Then the person, if they live right here, okay, but even if, let's say they live further away, because it seems like that'd be odd, but maybe not. You know, the person lives here, they've been following her and watching her because they live in this area, and then they kill her and then just put her right there, even though she lived right there. It's pretty bizarre, actually. Yeah, I think it's probably the person that she had mentioned that she had been being watched by somebody. Yeah, so you'd think the police would have gone and just canvassed this whole area. But let's say the person lived here. That's nearby, but why drop her off right there? I mean, you knew where she lived. It's just, you know, that's literally, I don't even know how many feet that is. I bet it's like 400 feet. Well, more than that. 600 feet. It's not far at all. And see, well, here's the part that's weird is she's found there, the person probably lives here, and there's been no arrest made. And hell, maybe they did even talk to the guy. What would be really weird is if she did make it home and the roommate had something to do with it. Maybe he, here's just a theory. That's, I wouldn't say it's highly likely or anything, but what if the roommate actually thought, was really attracted to her, but she knew that, but he knew that she was dating somebody else, and then he just kind of flipped out one time and kind of kept her captive in their own place, and then put her over there, trying to make it look like something happened to her on the way home from the train station. Yeah, well, there you go. But see, they don't even have, I don't think they have a way to process the DNA that they've got. That's the shitty part about it. Yeah. It sounds like she didn't know the person. So that's another point that Claudia just made, it's just a possibility. I'm saying it's really not very good odds, but I think that like Claudia is saying, that's what we were saying earlier, is that it's probably somebody that she doesn't know, because she just said she thinks somebody's been following her, but she doesn't recognize that person, obviously, because she would say, oh, I think so-and-so is following me. Hey, Carol, look at the flowers. So hopefully they'll get to work on this one. It's good to know that the police there do have that in their minds. Just going to take somebody with a brain in New York to actually free that stuff up. They should open it up, allow private people to raise, even family members can raise funds to then send it off to Parabon. I think many people, family members, would pay for their own thing. They wouldn't care if you did. So New York, if you're worried about the money, don't worry about it. I guarantee it, families would come up with the $3,500 to solve some of these cases. They could easily do fundraisers out there, even if they didn't have it. They'll raise the money, okay, you lame idiots? God, embarrassing. All right, so I'm going to move on to the other case. It is the Janice Pulliam case. Now, this one's pretty weird, too. Doesn't make any sense at all. That's right. Lame idiots everywhere.
Gray, you're so mean. You always call people idiots. Well,
that's too bad. Don't be one of those. How about that?
Well, how do you know you're not an idiot?
I don't. Okay? I just try to think logically. Okay? Do I have schizophrenia right now? I just realized that I'm talking to myself, but I'm another person when I'm doing the other voice. Or maybe I'm just being Phil Hendry-ish. Yeah, that's right. Gollum. That's exactly right. I was feeling a little bit like Gollum in... I'm not sure if it was the final episode or movie, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to an invisible idiot. That's right. Oh, man. My precious. I don't know if I can do that voice. Yeah. The cold cases are really interesting to me, and there's so many of them. But I've noticed that there's a ton from, I mean, even just 1980 itself. Like 1980 seems to be a barbarian year. I mean, it was unbelievable. All right. So let's start here. This is the case of Janice Pulliam, 43 years old, and this happened in New Mexico. Janice Pulliam's car was discovered at an Albuquerque hotel 2 weeks after her body floated to the surface of Elephant Butte Lake, anchored to a sand-filled gas can. I guess people were doing that a lot back then. Now I have to go find it. It's probably right in front of my face. There it is. Yeah, so here's Elephant Butte Reservoir. And I think she was found right in this area here. Let's see. 2 weeks after her body floated to the surface of Elephant Butte Lake, anchored to a sand-filled gas can. The 1981 gray Mercedes-Benz was found Tuesday in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel at 1901 University Northeast. And that is right here. This Hilton Hotel in the parking lot. I think it's a Crown Plaza right now, but it's right back there. It's this one. So, probably just out in here somewhere. I don't have a picture of it or anything. We have no indication that it was stolen, Gonzalez said. So it almost seems like she made it to the hotel. It was just simply parked at the hotel. It was even locked. Albuquerque Police Department officers ran the car's license plate identification through the National Crime Information Computer and discovered it belonged to Pulliam. Gonzalez said the car was taken to the state police building here, where investigators were searching for clues or any evidence that could be linked to the death. Investigators have reported that that Pulliam, 43, had been strangled and her hands and feet bound with rope. She also had been tied to a weighted gas can. A boater found the body floating in the lake July 15th, about 2 miles north of Monticello Point, a day after her mother, Margaret Alwyn, reported her missing in Albuquerque. Gonzalez said Pulliam was last seen July 10th after she left for a short trip, but it was unknown where she was headed or with whom. So Gonzalez said Pulliam was last seen July 10th, so 5 days prior to her body floating in the lake, after she left for a short trip, but it was unknown where she was headed or with whom. Yeah. Well, cool, Erie Fairy. I like doing it because I have a really good feel of the case when you do that, right? I'm not just reading. I mean, I'm reading the articles with you. I've already gone through it once, but...
Love the mix of Google Earth and old newspaper articles for these cold cases. Thumbs up.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I like doing it. It's the only thing that makes sense for me because I'm kind of a visual person. I don't even really like reading these that much, but I don't mind it because you read it and then you kind of go back and read something again, and then you can kind of keep putting the story together. Gonzalez said Pulliam was last seen July 10th after she left for a short trip. Miss Alwyn, who lives across the street from Pulliam, said her daughter was expected to return from the trip 2 days later. So her mother actually lived across the street from her, and she was expected to return on July 12th. Pulliam, the sister of State Representative Jerry Lee Alwyn, Republican Albuquerque, has been on medical leave from her job as a secretary at La Cueva High School since Christmas 1987. According to, and this is 1989, so it sounds like 2 years, according to Albuquerque Public Records. She lived with her 21-year-old daughter, Darcy, a University of New Mexico student, her son Brian, so remember that name, Brian, okay? Her son Brian, a 14-year-old student at Sandia High School, was living with his father, Harvey Pulliam. The couple was involved in divorce proceedings. So, keep that in mind too, right? Miss Pulliam had surgery almost 2 years ago. I mean, this sounds very much like some other cases at that point, doesn't it? Cheryl Coker. Fotis Doulos, or fructose. Melissa Pesky. The list goes on and on. Miss Pulliam had surgery almost 2 years ago to remove a tumor in her thigh and had planned to return to work next month. APS was in the process of placing her in another position for the coming school year, employees said. All right. So we get from this that she was on medical leave from work. She was going to go on a short trip. She has a daughter that's 21 named Darcy, and then a son named Brian who's 14, and that child was living with his father, who she was in the middle of getting divorced from. Okay? There we go. So that was July 27th. This is August 7th. So maybe 6 days later. August 2nd, I mean. New Mexico State Crime Stoppers is asking for your help in solving the strangulation death of an Albuquerque woman. Investigators with the New Mexico State Police report that Janice Pulliam, 43, had been strangled and her hands and feet bound with rope had been tied to a sand-filled gas can. The body of the victim was found in Elephant Butte Lake on July 15, 1989, a day after she was reported missing to the Albuquerque Police Department. Janice Pulliam's car was discovered July 25, 1989, in the parking lot. So she went missing on the 10th. Her body was found floating on the 15th. And then on the 25th, her car was actually found in the Hilton Hotel at 1901 University Boulevard. Janice Pulliam was an employee of the Albuquerque Public School System and had been on medical leave from her job as a secretary. All right. So that's it. It just kind of, not a lot of information going on after that. And then 1991, about 2 years later, in June, there was another article, Secret Friend Linked to Secretary. A trail of clues. And I mean, this stuff here is really interesting in here. A trail of clues in a case that began 2 years ago in Sierra County has led state police to a suspect in the strangulation death of Janice Pulliam, court documents revealed Wednesday. Included was a key letter written by the victim herself. The Albuquerque woman, 43, a La Cueva High School secretary on medical leave, was found floating in Elephant Butte Lake on July 15, 1989. She had been strangled, her hands and feet bound with rope and her body tied to a sand-filled gasoline can. Her 1981 gray Mercedes-Benz was found 2 weeks later in Albuquerque hotel parking lot. An affidavit filed by State Police Agent Leonard Ramirez, who has been working on the case since its inception, shows the suspect is a former Pulliam acquaintance, so it doesn't sound like the husband, who had helped her with her divorce. Oh, wow, that's a little bit weird. I was curious about the divorce, and now we've got a guy that was helping her with the divorce. Well, maybe, did he know the actual husband? Let's see. And wow, I didn't read that before. Who had helped her with her divorce from Harvey Pulliam, and with whom the secretary took trips. So she took trips with this guy that helped her with the divorce. Ramirez successfully sought a search warrant from a state district judge Tuesday in Albuquerque to take scalp and forearm hair from the suspect to compare with hairs found in the dirt in the red gasoline can that anchored Pulliam's body. So they found hairs in that dirt. The search warrant return shows the hairs were obtained Tuesday. The affidavit says Ramirez learned from Pulliam's relatives, including State Rep Jerry Alwyn, Republican, Alwyn R. I'm not sure if it's a Republican, but it says R-Bernalillo, her brother in July 1989, and she had a secret friend who was going to get her a job with a federal agency. So there's this letter out there. Ramirez and agent Greg Richardson also learned she had made a trip with him July 10th, 1989, 5 days before her body was found. Also learned she had made a trip with him. So, wow. I mean, how is he not just your main suspect at this point? I mean, he should just be arrested almost immediately. I mean, he's the one that was on the trip. 2 agents subsequently learned from Pulliam's daughter, Darcy, then 21, and from an anonymous letter sent to Alwyn. So Alwyn's the mother of Janis. So let's see. 2 agents subsequently learned from Pulliam's daughter, Darcy, then 21, and from an anonymous letter sent to Alwyn, that some notes from Pulliam existed. The letter first sent by Pulliam to a friend a year before her death. So Pulliam sent a letter to a friend a year before her death, stated, and doesn't this sound like Melissa Pesky or what? Listen to this one. Stated that in the event of her death, documents in the pocket of her gray suit would indicate which person it was who she had been seeing and be responsible for her death. Wow. So there's somebody she's seeing that she's so freaked out by that she wrote a letter, put it in a pocket, in a jacket. And this is like right out of a movie, isn't it? Why she might have been thinking about death was not addressed in the affidavit. The notes revealed details about the friend, and the agents eventually linked the information to the current suspect, who had left home July 10th, 1989, pulling his boat with a pickup truck. The affidavit suggests the break in the case came in April, when Ramirez was informed by analyst Dave Laycock of the Albuquerque Police Department Crime Laboratory the hairs recovered in the gasoline can dirt were traceable, and that 2 were gray-brown, matching those of the suspect. Well, hopefully you have, I don't know if you don't even need the hair root anymore, do you? For hair DNA. So if they still have that DNA, they need to be doing Parabon, right? I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And still hasn't been solved. That's 30 years ago at this point. So that's her right there. Daughter says victim would have called. This is also 1991. No, this is from July 1989. So we're going back in time a little bit. Janice Pulliam always phoned her daughter in Albuquerque once or twice a day whenever she left on out-of-town trips. When Pulliam left the city July 10th for a vacation at Elephant Butte Lake, her 21-year-old daughter Darcy waited for her mother to get in touch. Darcy said her daughter never called. Janice Pulliam, a secretary with Albuquerque Public Schools, was found Saturday strangled and tied to a sand-filled gas can in Elephant Butte Lake. Whatever happened must have happened right away because she would have called, her daughter said. Janice Pulliam's mother, Margaret Alwyn, called Albuquerque police July 14th to report that her daughter, who lived across the street from her, was missing. State Police Agent Leonard Ramirez, who was heading the investigation into Janice Pulliam's death, could not be reached for comment Wednesday. The mother of two, Janice Pulliam, lived with her daughter in Albuquerque's Northeast Heights. Her 14-year-old son, Brian, was living with his father, Harvey Pulliam. A friend said the couple was divorced last year. So I guess they weren't going through a divorce. They just got divorced, though. Pulliam, the sister of State Representative Jerry Lee Alwyn, had been on sick leave for over a year. Darcy Pulliam said her mother left a note for her July 10th in their house saying she was leaving at noon and would phone that day or the next day. She seemed kind of excited about it. The vacation, said Darcy. Darcy said she didn't know if anyone was going with her mother, and she hadn't known her mother was going to Elephant Butte Lake. Pulliam had told a friend where she was going. A close friend of Pulliam said, "We know so little," said the close friend, who asked not to be identified. To say anything would be conjecture on our parts. So, she just went on a trip with a guy, but apparently a guy that she was... Well, the thing is, that letter was written a year before. Was she dating the same guy now? When she got killed? So maybe the note's irrelevant? Probably not, though. Alright, so this is another 1991 article. No arrests have been made by late Thursday in the 1989 strangulation death of an Albuquerque public school secretary. Everything's beginning to come together, said Montoya of the 2-year investigation into the slaying of Janice Pulliam, 43. Her body was found in July 1989, floating in Elephant Butte Lake. Details of the investigation, which also involves the State Attorney General's office, emerged Tuesday when a state police investigator filed a search warrant return in Albuquerque. Police sought court permission to take hair samples from an Albuquerque man suspected in the slaying, so they were able to get that. Information gathered during the investigation. Well, no, this part here is important. I remember reading this earlier. Pulliam's body was found about 5 days after she left. Now, here's the thing. That man that they're talking about, the suspect, the man authorities consider a suspect, also departed that same day and was seen pulling a boat with a pickup truck, the search warrant affidavit shows. I mean, isn't it obvious? I mean, the guy, you know, he went with her, and then now you find her body in a lake that he probably went to with the boat. Yeah. Crazy. And here's the America's Most Wanted story. And it's basically the same stuff. So this is October 22nd, 2019, 2 months ago. It's just an article that somebody, a quick little mentioned in the unsolvednewmexico.com website. Okay, now here's what's crazy. You know, remember the son that I mentioned to you guys? Let's see, what the hell was his name again? Brian? Well, look at this. Life sentence imposed in murders. Brian Pulliam was sentenced to life in prison. I thought, wow, he killed his mom, but no, it had nothing to do with it. Sentenced to life in prison Thursday for the murders of Kristen Lando, 36, and her 20-year-old nephew. Applause and tears for victims and jeers for the defendant were hallmarks of Thursday's sentencing of Brian Pulliam, who killed his former girlfriend and her nephew at a home where he'd been, well, I wonder, you know, I don't know. He's kind of got that same color hair, right? That was seen in the sand. I mean, if you have the ability to kill, who knows what he was doing at 14, right? Kirsten Lando, 36, had broken up with Pulliam, now 41, just before the August 2012 night when she and her 20-year-old nephew, Dylan Kierfoss, were shot to death in the home they shared with Sherry Nelson, Kirsten's sister and Dylan's mother, and Dylan's sister, Dominique Lando. The two other residents were away at the time of the shooting late that evening. Nelson sobbed inconsolably as she described her sister and son to 2nd Judicial District Judge. So, and then down at the bottom it says, in 1989, Pulliam's mother, Janis, was found dead in Elephant Butte Lake in a homicide that has never been solved. His father remarried, and Brian Pulliam became friends with a stepbrother who died in a car rollover. His father also abandoned him, and his stepmother was sentenced to prison for fraud, according to court filings. Pulliam was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison in 1999 in connection with the aggravated battery of a young man on Halloween night, 1997. Edna Prague, the deputy district attorney prosecutor, the case told the judge that the obviously difficult case highlighted the impact of domestic violence on a community. The extended family of the victims as a group has remained relatively cohesive after the death. I was immediately impressed with their caring, she said. So isn't that weird? What a weird twist. You know, you sort of wonder what was going on in 1989. Now, something there, I think her death has something to do with the family somehow. That's my opinion. Might not, but it just feels like that. The divorce is too close to the time. And then you have the friend that was helping her through the divorce, that took her on the trip. And then you've got this son who has the propensity to kill people. Hey, how come you hid Jesse? What did they say wrong? Shogun. Well, unhide him. Oh, okay. Yep, I saw. How does that happen? Do you guys, is there something on your phones that it just I mean, it's almost hard to do because you have to click the 3 dots and then go down and hit minus. Or is there like a shortcut key that you guys are hitting? Alright, she's murdered. You have a murderer in the family. She just got divorced, and then she was dating somebody that helped her through the divorce. It just feels like something's connected there. Yeah, no, I don't use a phone, so I don't know how that happens. Oh. Well, how does that happen then? I'm just curious. Or is that like you try to go to their channel to check them out or something? Like you click on them and go to their channel, but then you hit the wrong one, or... Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fixed. Remember that one night with delusional lucidity? She just kept hitting the button. Like something was happening. It was pretty much deleting every single person. That was hilarious. Yeah, well, basically that's all I have for the cold cases tonight. There was one that I wanted to look up. Maybe we could do it together. I saw on it, you know, when I'm reading through the articles, there was an article just off to the left. When I read it, I was just, whoa. Don't worry about it, Shogun. Who cares? Who cares? So let me see if I can find this one. It just sort of popped up. Alright, look at this thing. So maybe we can go check, let's try to find something, because I was in the 1980s. And if you look at the date up there, it's almost exactly the same as one of the other dates that I was looking into. Friends of an Austin woman who failed to show up for work found the woman's mutilated body in her trailer home here Monday. The woman's hair had been cut off, and acid apparently had been poured over her head and torso. Police withheld the identification of the victim, but the manager of the North Austin mobile home park said the woman had lived there for 2 years and worked for the State Commission for the Blind. Huh. She was in her late 20s or early 30s. She has multiple stab wounds from what appears to be some type of thin blade weapon. I mean, this lady got absolutely smoked by some absolute barbarian. I mean, let's see. Why do you think the person would have cut off her hair? Do you think he performed her to do some sort of sex act on him, and then he was trying to cover up that by, he cut off her hair, took that with him, and then he, burned the rest of her hair? I mean, if it's not that, yeah, it's crazy. It's like a freaking nut job. So I want to try to see if we can find any updates on this one. I mean, at the time, obviously, it just had nothing to do with what I was looking up, so I figured, hey, we can look up one together. So this is in Austin. Let's see. Okay, do Texas. Let's do Texas, November 1980. And then here, type in, let's see, hair cut off and acid. Okay. So that was November 11th. Is there anything later than that? This looks like the same one. Police, they withheld her identity, so they knew who it was. Well, let's change that to... Well, hell, does that work? Didn't cut. Well, let's see. What's this? Oh, this got to be it, right? I mean, how could that not be the same story? All right. I think I might have found it right here. Hold on. Let's see what happened here. Oh, wow. Is this like a... Hold on. Already requested cutback. So I guess this is it. All right, let's go through this one. Man, that's wild. Murder defendant Larry Townsley confessed to police he intended to disfigure his girlfriend, Pauline Blair, with sulfuric acid so he would not lose her love. Oh man, this guy's crazy. All right, so she was so pretty that you wanted to make her look ugly so that other guys wouldn't... You might be right. Who said Nona might be right there? Yeah. It's almost like he didn't want her to leave him, so he made her ugly, and he would just say, I mean, what an idiot. Jeez. So, murder defendant Larry Townsley confessed to police he intended to disfigure his girlfriend, Pauline Blair, with sulfuric acid, so he would not lose her love. Jurors in Townsley's murder trial were told Tuesday. I felt she would be less attractive that way, and I would not lose her, the 31-year-old Townsley said in one of 3 signed confessions read to the 7-woman, 5-man jury. Townsley gave the statement to police several days after the 40-year-old Blair's nude, acid-burned body was found in North Austin mobile home. This is the same story then. November 10th, 1980. The body was discovered by co-workers Inga Hunka and Maud Cardwell. Inga Hunka. I can actually say that I've never heard that name before. After they became concerned when she had not shown up at her job at the State Commission for the Blind. Other testimony Tuesday revealed that although Blair died from ingesting ether, wow, she was still alive when acid was poured over her face. So he came in, he put the, you know how you always see that in the movies, you put ether on a rag, put it over someone's face and makes them pass out. So she either died from ingesting ether, she was still alive when acid was poured over her face and neck. Jurors listened attentively as Prosecutor Ralph Graham read the 3 statements after 147th State District Court Judge. Co-defensive attorney John Dietz argued the confessions were obtained by police after they illegally detained Townsley. Okay, so you want him back out there? Denied him access to a lawyer, used psychological coercion on him, and induced him to confess by promising him leniency. Well, okay. Well, it could be one of those false confession things, but I don't think it's false. I think it's more a technicality. I mean, he admitted it 3 different times. But, you know, there are rules about false confessions. He said he had talked with Blair earlier the evening of November 9th, 1980, then left to visit a friend. He said he returned about midnight and found her sleeping nude in her bedroom. And your first thought was to pour battery acid on her? Townsley said he slipped an elastic bandage over Blair's eyes, placed either soaked cotton over her face, tied her hands and feet with pantyhose, and had sexual intercourse with her. Okay, but she was your girlfriend, so why did you have to do all that? See, what it really shows is that this guy is a psycho and probably would have ended up being a serial killer. I mean, I know I say that a lot, but it seems like a lot of this shit. I mean, look at this guy. Normally, serial killers, they do those kind of things on somebody else and keep their wife at home as a normal relationship, as a disguise to the public. But this guy, he was like, forget it. I know. It's weird, the stuff that we find sometimes on this channel, right? I mean, it's all in the papers. I don't know if they do the same kind of reporting today as they did back then, because back then they seemed like they got everything. Townsley's statement said that when he was finished, he noticed she was not breathing and assumed she was dead. He then cut off her hair. Well, if you assumed she was dead, that doesn't fit with your bullshit above, here when you said he intended to disfigure his girlfriend with sulfuric acid so he would not lose her love. But down here, she was already dead. You said that when he was finished, he noticed she was not breathing and assumed she was dead, so he then cut off her hair. Well, why would you cut off her hair now? She couldn't love you anymore. She's dead, you idiot. He then cut off her hair with a pair of scissors, poured sulfuric acid over her face, neck, abdomen, and legs, and burned her pubic hair with a cigarette lighter, the statement said. Man, this guy was just an absolute monster. Townsley said he killed Blair's 15-year-old Yorkshire Terrier, so that'll piss some people off more than her dying. But listen to that. Townsley said he killed Blair's 15-year-old Yorkshire Terrier 2 days earlier while testing... Oh, man. Didn't I... Oh, man. And this guy... This guy is a freaking monster. Listen to this. He was testing out the ether, which he said was contained in starting fluid he purchased at Brownwood Auto Supply Store. So he tested out the ether on a 15-year-old Yorkshire Terrier. Austin Police Homicide Sergeant Gary Richards told this jury Townsley was relaxed, laughing and joking as police secretary typed the statements he dictated. Questioned by prosecutor Joe Turner, De Chenard said inhaling the ether caused a massive fluid buildup in Blair's lungs and paralysis of the section of the brain controlling the lungs and heart. Her death was a painful one because the ether is an irritant, he added. He said acid burns on Blair's body showed she was still living when the caustic substance was poured on her face and neck. but dead when it was poured on her abdomen and thighs. Cross-examined by Dietz, that's probably his defense attorney, said it's possible Blair could have been unconscious and clinically dead but still breathing when the acid was poured on her. He also said the alcohol content of her blood showed she was intoxicated at the time of her death. Hunka, well, that's one of the friends, testified she found Blair's body in the bedroom of her mobile home after climbing in through an open window. She was lying on her back. It didn't look very much like Pauline. Her face was puffy and bloated, and her hair looked strange, she said. God, what a sicko, man. Let me type this guy's name in. Larry Townsley. Is that him? I don't think that's him. Maybe let's try Pauline Blair murder. Yeah, so I think that's what this is. No, he got 99 years. The conviction was affirmed by the Court of Appeals for the Third Supreme. Okay, so he tried to get out of it. Well, good. You got 99 years in prison. Man, they should have studied that guy. What a monster. Really? He thought she would leave him because she was so pretty. So he came home, he had this plan. So the day before, he took some ether and killed a 15-year-old Yorkshire Terrier that was owned by the victim. Pauline Blair, and it worked, by God. So the next day he was hanging out with a buddy or whatever, and then he comes back home around midnight. She's in bed sleeping naked, and he was so concerned that she might leave him someday because he's a pile of shit that he thought, well, gosh, here's what I'll do. I'll knock her out with ether, and then I'll cut off her hair and then pour acid all over her. Because then I'll be the only person that would love her, and thus she'd have to still love me. But of course she'd know that you did it, you stupid ass. And I mean, there's nothing that makes any sense about this guy at all. He's just he's a barbarian. Yeah, and he kind of lied because he obviously, even after he knew that she was dead, he cut off her hair and poured acid on her. That's so weird. I just found that random article and it turned out way crazier than I even thought it might be. All right. Well, that's it for my cold cases and one random, totally wacko case. Good night, Claudia Neubauer. I don't get it, beach. Bush and beach lifestyle. I don't get it. Yeah, you're spending too much time on the drama channels, Ivy Rose. You got to come over here. Where there's actually interesting information being shared and discussed. You know, not whether somebody said what to somebody. I don't know why it happens. There's just monsters out there, I guess. Yeah, me too. The only problem is it doesn't create enough drama on the channel, so it makes it so people don't do super chats. Whenever there's a lot of drama and stuff like that, people are like, yeah, wow, this is awesome. But when you actually do something serious like this, it doesn't have the same energy. I think it's way more interesting and way more valuable, so I'll keep doing it. But it'd be cool if I could just interject, just half drama. I'm kidding. I'll never do that. Yeah, I know a couple items went through and actually worked. I don't know which items. They don't really say what items they are. So, but it did look like a couple went through. I'll check tomorrow, though. Yeah. Yeah. But almost every time I show up on a drama channel, Ivy, you're over there. Maybe it's just, I think a lot of people, if you like reality TV and watching somebody else's life, I think that's kind of fun. Like, it's weird when people sit there and watch somebody else walk around on the streets. I mean, I've been there, and then I realized, what am I doing? Why am I watching this? Thank you, Lanky Tour. But cool, if you found me through drama, that's good, I guess.
Drama keeps people crazy.
They always say, oh, you love drama, Gray. That's why you show up. Like I'll go to one of these channels, because a lot of times at night when I'm done with my show, I go onto YouTube and I see a live going on, so it'll be one of the other... some channel, and I'll just sort of go in there and listen for a minute, and then I'll say something. If I just say anything at all that has any negative connotation at all, like if I say, wow, drama really does sell. Look at this. You've got 600 people watching this, and you're actually talking about nothing. Oh, maybe that, I don't know. I thought I saw you in there, Ivy Rose. Yeah, watching other people play video games. That's great. I mean, yes, I'll admit that I wish that I had 800 people watching my show, right? But it's not entertaining like that. My show is just entertaining for people who want to look into crimes and sort of picture it and hear about it and be like, wow, that's nuts. And I'm actually hoping a couple of these might actually end up being solved so we can go back over it. Yeah, maybe that wasn't you, Ivy Rose. I don't know. It looked like you. The name. I don't know. Thanks you.
Thanks for doing the cold cases, Gray. I appreciate the actual substance I get from watching your channel.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Amanda Belg. But apparently, all I do is put pins on a map. See, it's so much more than that. When we do this, we're putting the pins to get the the geography of it. To sort of get a feel for what's going on. And then we go through the articles to get the known facts, and then at that point, you can kind of speculate more reasonably. Right? Right. Are you on delay, Shogun? My funny comment was a few minutes ago. Oh, you mean the pins on the map part? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what they say. I've got this troll that was emailing me these huge novels, trying to. I mean, she must be one of the most mentally abusive people that you'd ever see, because she'd spend literally probably a 5-page article on what's wrong with my channel. And it was all just really shitty comments. Spanky lanky, huh? Yeah. Well, it sounds like Laura's gonna pay the 100, but I'm gonna assume she's sending it to me, so I'm gonna send in. I'll add the 100 to our donation. I'm gonna send it to the DNA Doe Project again. No, I haven't got it yet. She said last night, tomorrow, or the next day. So I didn't get it today, but maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Man. What do you guys like about that? When you say, oh, guilty pleasure, right? What do you like about it? Let me know. What's fun about watching somebody else's life? I bet you will. I'm thinking she will now. Yeah. Now somebody actually said, no, we need to know what the answer is of who did what and who did. How come? I said. Why do you need to know that? See, what I don't like, here's what I don't like the most. Because I've been on the other side, like during the Kanika Jenkins case with all the absolute morons on the other side. But there were so many of them. I mean, I would say I was the only one putting out the truth. And I filled the void for the people who wanted to see actual information. But there was 50, 60 YouTubers out there that were trying to make money by giving a starving mass of people what they wanted to hear. So they craved to hear what they wanted to hear, and these people were more than willing to put it out there. And they're still, I mean, every single day I get just the stupidest comments I've ever seen on my YouTube channel. But they would all be against me at the same time. And it doesn't feel good. It's bad. So the whole thing with Oni, you know, like I've always said, he you know, he's always treated me well. And I'm talking about, like, I've seen him on a panel with 3 or 4 other people where they were all trashing me into oblivion. And he didn't even know I was watching or anything. And he would say, and I wasn't watching, somebody told me to watch it later. And he'd say, hey, I'm not going to be part of this. Okay, now, see, that to me, there's some integrity there. Because to be cool, he could have jumped right in with them all, right? So that's the thing. And I don't like seeing when an entire community is bashing one person and everybody. I mean, the same thing happens with when Miss Wonderful attacks me. She has like 600 people watching, and all of them, without even giving a damn about the facts about anything, will all attack me personally. They'll show up in my videos. They show up in the comments right there. And that's the part I don't like. It's just all these people. There's so many people that don't use their brains. And they just want to join in. Yeah, I know he did. I told him to do that, though, Nona. He called me up yesterday in the early part of the day, and I said, Oni, here's what you need to do. You need to do a show where you apologize with no excuses about what you said to John Crimes, and then you also need to come forward. I did ask him if he did that, and he said, I don't think so. Let me listen to, you know. I knew that he knew, you know, I could just tell he knew that it was him. And I said, listen, you need to go on and tell the truth. Whatever that is, but make sure that you're telling the truth. And I think he sort of knew, and I told him, I think that is you in the audio. I'm 95% sure, it's pretty obvious. And I think you should go on and tell the truth. And then he went on later and he told the truth. So, there you go. I'm glad that he came out and told the truth. The sad part is nobody's going to hold any of the people accountable for that made him feel like that. What made him do that is what you might want to ask yourself. So there you go. And you know, so that's why I felt like I had to say something, because I could see that you have all these people attacking at the same time. And what he did was, it was shitty, you know. Both the things that I'm aware of, he did was shitty. But he knows that, so. Yeah, it's weird. She's never apologized, and you know, one of the people bashing Oni has said the exact same thing that Miss Wonderful said, and she's never apologized either. She claims, oh, it was edited. Same crap, you know. And apparently, that person's called my show numerous times as someone pranking the show. Yeah, they never will. But that's okay. Whatever. I mean, I even showed up on one of her show the other day when she was crying. It seemed pretty real, and I just said, hey, you know, anybody can be whatever they want to be in life. Just she was saying she doesn't have skills or anything to go get a job, and you know, this is where I'm lost. Well, does anybody want to call in tonight? We could do a, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes of call-ins. I'm getting the invitations. Didn't you guys think that was weird? That the son of the lady in Albuquerque ended up being a murderer too? It's not like there's a lot of murderers, but as a percentage of the population, it's tiny. You can contact me at Gray Hughes. It's in the description of the video. grayhughes2@gmail.com, but it's GRAYHUZE2@gmail.com. I haven't got the number yet, so. Okay, now the number's good. And I'll be back in a second, as we have no commercial breaks on this channel. Wow, I figured I'd come back with the lines all filled and not one damn person called in. Oh my god. Oh. Who are you guys referring to? Who lied? Yeah, somebody call in.
Yes, somebody call in right now.
Please, please call in, please.
Yes, somebody call in so I don't have to keep hearing that high-pitched voice anymore.
Yep. I should just call myself. Ding. By the way, one of the other, I don't know what the hell his name is, but, one of the other true crimer, well, I wouldn't even call him true crime. YouTubers did a video on Delphi the other day, and they were so inaccurate. At least 4 times in about 10 minutes, there were glaring mistakes. It was hilarious. And let me show you what they were doing. Let me show you. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was embarrassing. I said on their channel, I said, well, you're not right. So here's this and that. And then of course the comments deleted because they just can't stand it. Yeah. So here's what they were doing. This is literally what they were saying on the show. I'm going to show you this. It's hilarious. So they're looking at this. Let me hide. God, what's going on with this? Okay. So this is what they were saying. Well, everybody, as we all know, let's see, let me fix this. It's hard to take this stupid plus side. There we go. Well, everybody, as we know, right here is the CPS building. This is where they saw that truck. Well, no, it's not. It's way around. It's way over here around the corner. This is the abandoned CPS building. But they were telling everybody that this was where the vehicle was parked. But it wasn't parked right there, okay? This is the building that Cairo went to that actually has another camera that points out to the road. The parking area is right there. Then they were really smart and a genius, they said. Now look, I can see right there. If I was out there, I'd know. Look at this. You guys can see it. See that right there? There's like this little, a line that would follow. Now, you know that van that's underneath the bridge? You know the van that's parked underneath the bridge down there? Well, what I think is it went along this right here. Guess what, everybody? It leads right down here. Yes. Yes, you're right. It's the freaking Monin High Trail. All right, you see it right there? It's the freaking trail that everybody already knows about. You didn't find some hidden road out there. It literally is the same trail that we've all discussed. Now the thing is if the car drove this way, there's a cliff right there. So you think it just drove off the cliff and then rolled across the creek and ended up right there where you think it was? Man, it's just so embarrassing. And the sad part is nobody calls him out on it on his channel. And the reason is because there isn't anybody there that would do it. Because as soon as you say something like that, you get deleted. Well, nobody called in, so I guess that is it for the show tonight. That's what I was just saying, Ivy. Yeah. I had to do I had to do it again. It rhymes with, let's see, Dimmy Dus. the nickname. Dimmy Dus. Yeah, it just shows that that person never watches anybody else or tries to learn anything, because there is no van in the picture of Abby on the bridge. Okay, there just is not a van down there. They're looking at a processed image that over time made it look like a pareidolia, like a van. Oh, look at a van. It's a joke. All right, here it is. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, wait, you guys can hear my email yelling at me behind me. Gray, check your email. All right, so 832, you're on the air. Hey, pretty good. Who's this? Connie M, huh? All right, what's going on? What's going on, Connie M? I had to test out my mute button. It worked.
Okay.
Now you're live, though. Now you're live.
Do you remember me?
Well,
I know it's been a while since we've spoke.
Well, I remember your name, and I don't remember what we talked about or anything.
I'm the one that fell and broke my arm.
Wow, how long ago was that?
9 months ago.
You want me to remember that? Well, I mean, I kind of remember vaguely.
I
somebody.
sent you the pictures.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
I sent you the pictures?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember that. Yeah. All right.
Well, I haven't touched base with you because I can't hardly use my arm. It's never truly healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you break
crazy.
it? I forgot. How did you break it?
I slipped on the floor in my grandson's room.
Must have hardwood floors.
It was ceramic tiles,
oh, okay.
And I slipped on the blanket and slid across the room and
wow,
did a major break on my arm. And so, anyway, I'm fixing to have to go in and have surgery so that hopefully they can repair it.
Well, didn't they do that the first time when they put it back together?
No, evidently not. It took a while. I kept telling them, the doctors, I can't move my arm voluntarily. I could move from my elbow to my wrist perfectly, but from the shoulder to my elbow, I couldn't lift my arm voluntarily. And so I kept saying, how long, before that heals so that it'll start working again? And they were like, well, we don't know why it's not working. It should be working. And so they did an MRI and found out that the tendons on the top of my rotary cuff and on the bottom of my rotary cuff was completely cut in half.
Wow. How'd that happen?
Therefore, it didn't work. It's not working.
Well, how did that happen?
I believe it snapped in my break when I fell.
So you broke your arm really high up by the shoulder joint?
Yeah. Yeah, wow. I broke it mid-arm where your muscle is.
Like your bicep, but just right there?
Yeah, the biceps, right.
Wow, that's crazy.
And, yes.
So you must have slipped and fell on your elbow, and then straight down your elbow, and then the weight of just everything went and broke that, right? I doubt you...
Yeah, I broke it in 2 different places, and then it also twisted it. So it was a spiral compound fracture.
I think that's how Nurkic broke his leg.
A bar in there.
I think
a rod.
Yeah, I think the guy that plays for the Blazers, that's how he jumped, hit the ground, and twisted at the same time, and it broke it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. I've never been through anything more crazy than this.
Yeah.
I'll be glad when it's I can get back to working again.
Yeah. Well, now they know what the problem is.
I just wanted to let you know, huh?
They know what the problem is now. At least they can go put the tendons back together, and hopefully it starts working again.
Yes, I hope so.
But how long? But that's weird, because what happens to the tendons after they cut? But they're just let to sit there for months and months and months, and they.
Well, that's.
Yeah.
That's what my questions are. And the surgeon said, I said, what kind of ratio are you can you give me? Oh, it's 50-50 chance it'll even work, the surgery. I'll have to go in and take out all this scar tissue and then try to put it back together.
Why didn't they notice that the first time, though, when they put it all together?
Have no idea. Have no idea.
That seems almost kind of negligent.
And me, never had gone through anything like it before, and a broken bone at all. I had no clue. And I would tell the doctor, well, I'm able to do this much, but I'm not able to do this. How much longer before the healing fixes that, And I don't know, I guess the doctor didn't realize what I was exactly talking about. And so, yeah, finally I found a doctor, a different one, that finally saw what I was talking about. And they said, well, let me do an MRI and see. And sure enough, when they did the MRI, it showed on there that the tendons were like snapped in half on the top and the bottom of the rotary cuff. And therefore, my arm doesn't move voluntarily.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, wow.
You don't realize how much you use that part of your arm. Even if it's not the arm you use, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm right-handed. This was my left arm.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just don't realize how much you actually use that left arm, even though you're right-handed.
Yeah. Well, you got to use your arms.
I just wanted to call and touch base and just let you know I've been here every single night cheering you on. And I've tried to type in a couple of times, hello, how you doing? But it doesn't, my fingers don't work either very much.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let you know I haven't left you high and dry. I still love your shows.
Well, cool. I'm glad you still watch. Well, I hope
I'm still around, just in that corner back there, being quiet.
Yeah, well, I hope you get it all squared away and your arm works again.
Oh, I do too. Thank you very much.
Keep us updated.
So,
when do you do surgery on it?
I'm hoping in about two more weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I go in Friday and they will tell me the surgery date.
And then it's probably quite a way. Then it takes a long time of rehab, I'm sure, for a shoulder.
Yeah. I don't know, Gray. I just take it one day at a time. You know what I mean?
Hopefully it works. Awesome.
I know. I'm praying. I need that arm.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, who doesn't?
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I hopefully it works for you.
I'm glad that you and your family had a great Thanksgiving.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I hope you did too.
And yes, we did. And so I just wanted to jump in there since nobody was calling, and I thought, I'm going to call.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. You can be the sole caller for tonight. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, and good luck.
I love you, Gray, and I love you, Freak.
All right. Well, hope you feel better. It'll work. It'll work. All right. All right. We'll see you later.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep. I think that'll be it for the show tonight. Hopefully Connie's shoulder will get fixed. Sounds like a nightmare. Seems kind of ridiculous that they didn't fix that originally. Like, wouldn't that be something you looked at when you went in to fix the brake? All right. Let's see what we got. So thank you to Kit Kat, Barbara Smith, Billy Boy Blue, Judy Shank, Robin Frost, Kit Kat, Billy Boy Blue, Stephanie Kelly, The Erie Fairy, and Lanky Tor. And then, let's see. Cairo, Amanda Belg in the PayPal there. So thank you very much. Very cool. So where are we going to do the flyby? It seems like Jody Arias videos are getting a lot more views all of a sudden. I'm not sure what's going on. When are they going to come back with the ruling? Did they ever rule on that Supreme Court or the appellate court hearing that she had? If it doesn't, if St. Petersburg, where? Like Russia, or where are we going? There's one in Florida too. I'm assuming you mean Russia. If it doesn't have the 3D version, I'm not doing it. Wow, that's the map. Look how good that is. Give me a break. Jeez. Forget it. Yeah, maybe we'll just pick some random space again. Just go like that to the most wide open space that there is. I don't have the ocean on, by the way, so you can see the ocean floor. So let's go right there. Maybe the maps, maybe I need to like close this down and open it back up again. Let's see. Now let me try that St. Petersburg again. Looked like the maps were all messed up. They just have a couple just models they put in there. I don't like that. There we go. Just start right there. And the fact that there's actually people living on all these little dots you see out there, that's weird. Hey, thanks, Psychotic, and... Thanks, Psychotic and Stephanie Kelly.
Heart, eating heart, eating heart, eating heart.
Thanks, Lanky Tour. I'll check. I don't know what you mean by settings, but... Thanks, Lanky Tour. Back to my old red earth. $270. I'll check Facebook. So, everybody, thank you for showing up tonight and watching the show on a couple cold cases and one random sicko story out of nowhere that, after you look it up, it's worse than even the original story sounded like. Alright, so thank you for showing up tonight and contributing to the channel. We'll be donating tomorrow to I'm going to say DNA Dope Project. So that's it, everybody. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Oh, and be safe out there.